This is Countdown to the Grey Cup with Bill Kelly, delivered by Purolator on the Ticats Audio Network.
Welcome to Countdown to the Grey Cup, delivered by Purolator. I'm your host, Bill Kelly, and we are getting ever closer, a week and a half or so now until the big game at Tim Horton Field. And this, of course, will be the culmination of a whole week of activity in Hamilton, in the Hammer during Grey Cup week. And with that, of course, comes a lot of entertainment. Now, we've filled on all those blanks over the last couple of weeks about some of the acts that are going to be there. But we wanted to bring our good friend Tim Potocic back to give us a rundown and a refresher course on exactly where we're going to be and where you should be in a number of different venues over the next little while. Tim Potocic, thanks so much for getting with us once again on the show. Talk to us about the magnitude of this. Now, I mentioned the last time, I said we do street festivals pretty well here. You know, you've been doing Supercrawl for a number of years now with great success. It's become a part of the fabric of this city. And as great as that street festival is going to be down along James Street, which is going to be kind of central, I guess, for a lot of these activities, there's a lot of stuff going on right around the city from an entertainment point of view, isn't there?
Oh, the city's packed. So we've had our fingers in a lot of different, pies with respect to things that are happening in town. But it's basically like kicks off, people will start showing up in town on Wednesday, and then it's just go right from there. So Thursday all the way through to the end of the game on Sunday. The street festival on James Street, Thursday, Friday, Saturday from noon till 8 o'clock every day is just absolutely packed with music, entertainment, activations, kids' activities in the armories, things to do on the street, food trucks, a great Christmas market. So it's like basically something for everyone. So not just for out-of-towners coming in, but local people that want to come down and like do some shopping, pre-shopping for Christmas, and check out things that, that happen at Grey Cup when they come into people's cities. So it should be very exciting.
You talked about a key point of this too that I don't want to overlook, and that's purchasing. We've been going to Grey Cups. Rebecca and I have been going to Grey Cups for a number of years, and you go across and here's the merchandise. Hey, look, I didn't see that sweatshirt before. I didn't see this. There's team gear there. There's going to be representatives from all of those. But it's also an opportunity, I think, for local merchants to be a part of this too, and to get into the festive spirit. And it's all going to be for us down on that section rather of James Street North. And the idea is it's kind of a one-size fits all. I mean, and a lot of the stuff that we've talked about here, the great part about this is just get down there and have fun. It's free. Just get down and enjoy yourself, and the food, the drink, and the entertainment, of course, is just going to be outstanding.
Yeah, it's very walkable. It again free. The local merchants on the streets and restaurants are all participating, so there'll be all kinds of deals to be had inside shops on James Street, and then outside with the vendors that are going to be participating in the actual street market. The Santa Claus parade is going to be basically encircling the James Street North closure area, so it's a great time to come down with the kids and then see the Santa Claus parade, but participate in the festival before and after. So that'll be very exciting. And then, of course, there's all the team parties. So the Convention Center, Hamilton Place Studio Theater will be rammed. Spirit of Edmonton's at Bridgeworks. All these events are happening basically every day, starting on Thursday as well, all into the wee hours of the morning for the older crowd that wants to have a couple beers and enjoy a lot of great entertainment in all these individual venues. So, and you can bounce around from all those venues too, and that's a very inexpensive tickets, like $20, to be able to go from venue to venue, see what's happening in each space. And then the activations that'll be happening on the street. So it's just, there's so much to do. It'll be hard to actually see it all unless you come down for a few days.
Now, for those who have not been to Grey Cup festivals, you mentioned Spirit of Edmonton. There's a tradition here in Canada. When the Western football fans come east, whether it's to Hamilton, to Toronto, wherever it might be, they bring their party spirit with them. And the Spirit of Edmonton is part of that. The folks in Regina and Winnipeg, it's just one big party. And it's an invitation for everybody to just come and, you're an Edmonton fan, you're an Alouette fan, you're a Tiger Cat fan, but we're all CFL fans. And the party atmosphere is going to be there. I'm glad you found a big enough venue, by the way, for the Spirit of Edmonton, because there's going to be a huge crowd there, isn't there?
Yeah, I think that their advance tickets are already sold out. So there's tickets available at the door, but it'll be limited every night. So you're going to want to get there early. So they've done a great job of marketing to that, to that built-in fan base. But you're right. It's all about it's not about what team you love. It's about the whole environment of all the teams and the combination of the CFL and the vibe that it brings to a city. And it really brings people together. So you don't really, of course you're cheering for your team, but, anybody in a room that's not, like, if they're in a Calgary room or a Regina room and they've got their Ticats colors on, it's all just a big party and everybody has a great time. So it's just a lot of fun.
I even saw an Argo fan and a Tiger Cat fan getting along. So anything can happen. I guess that's the magic of Grey Cup, isn't it?
Yeah.
The other element to this too, though, as you mentioned, you're going to have the spirit of Edmonton. There's going to be some other things going on. The convention center is going to be, and the armories are going to be great places for this. But the convention center is going to be lively with representatives and their own little groups there for all the teams. But one of the other really cool things about the Grey Cup are kind of the pop-up parties. And we've seen this in other cities. We saw it in Hamilton a couple of years ago, limited obviously because of the COVID situation and get over that. But they'll kind of adopt one of the drinking establishments, watering holes as it were. And all of a sudden, it's just, come on over. Let's go grab a beer. The Saskatchewan folks always have a little band of people that they're like troubadours. They go from pub to pub playing their stuff. You just can't believe the party atmosphere that's going to be existing in downtown Hamilton until you experience it this year. And as you mentioned when you joined us a few weeks ago, this is the dream that we always had when it was announced that we were going to have a couple of Grey Cups here. We wanted both of them to be this big, and couldn't do much about the one a couple of years ago because of those circumstances. But you've pushed all the buttons for this one, haven't you?
Absolutely. We've been involved in a lot of conversations with musical talent, and I think we have, for the team parties, we've lined up as much great entertainment as we possibly could. Still filling in some really small holes at this point this week, but it's pretty much good to go. And our street party's fantastic. We have the Dirty Nil and No Bro that are going to be kicking off the SiriusXM Kick Off Party on Thursday night, and we're encouraging lots of people to come down. So that's going to be an amazing show, lots of fun. And then on Saturday, we have headliners Steve Strongman's playing. We have Red Hill Valleys are playing on the weekend as well. A ton of great local, rock and Americana bands. Lots of great cover bands from the region. So tons of great entertainment to see. And then we have a couple incredible shows on the Sunday as well that we've helped program with Monster Truck at the stadium for the tailgate, plaza level tailgate, and then Dwayne Gretzky's playing an indoor tailgate down at the stadium. So just a multitude of great things to see.
No, Monster Truck, these are all local guys. This is like a hometown gig for them. They got to be jacked. All these acts that you brought in here. They understand. These are Canadians. They understand that the Grey Cup is a big deal, and it must be a real thrill for them to be part of all this.
Yeah, and we've been lucky to have it, 2 years out of 3. But that's not going to happen very often. So next time Grey Cup's in Hamilton, it's probably going to be quite a ways away. Hopefully not 10 years, but it's certainly going to be 5 to 10. So you got to take advantage of these opportunities when they're given to you, and be part of it, because it's too good to pass up.
Well, it all starts next week. As you mentioned, the Grey Cup will be here Wednesday, I guess it is, when it arrives here in town, or is it Tuesday? Anyway, early next week. And that's kind of like ready, set, go. And it all starts from that point on, and there's going to be a lot of great stuff going on. Tim Potocic, we'll see you at the Street Festival and probably a dozen other venues over the next week. But thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Tim Potocic, as we continue with the countdown to the Grey Cup. As a matter of fact, in just a second, you're going to be one of the all-time greats in the Canadian Football League and the National Football League, for that matter. Yeah, he starred in both and is in the Hall of Fame in both countries. And he's got a few Grey Cup rings to talk about, too. It's coming up in just a second.
Moon spent 6 seasons in Edmonton, winning 5 championships and writing his resume with the lightning in his arm. He became a quarterback who could no longer be ignored.
The Grey Cup for the 5th consecutive year will go to Edmonton. Warren Moon chosen the Labatt's outstanding player of the game.
Moon's chance would come in 1984. At 27, he was about to become a uniquely coveted NFL rookie.
And Eskimos, and now 5 Grey Cup rings. not much doubt that Warren Moon has been the outstanding individual on the playing field this afternoon.
Welcome to Countdown to the Grey Cup, delivered by Purolator. I'm your host, Bill Kelly. Great to be with you today as we get ever closer to the big game, of course, coming up at Tim Horton Field in about a week and a half. And one of the great parts about doing the show, of course, has been talking to some of the all-time greats and some of their memories of past Grey Cups. And I know all-time greats can be a bit of a cliche when it comes to football players sometimes, but it's a very apt description of our guest today. The best of the best, of course, in football end up on this side of the border at the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Down in Canton, Ohio, they do the same thing for the NFL Hall of Fame. The list of people that are in both Halls of Fame is very small. And this guy is right at the top of that list, the first player to be inducted into both Halls of Fame. And he is, of course, the incredible Warren Moon, quarterback for the Eskimos on this side of the border. Warren, great to see you. Thank you so much for the time today.
Yeah, Bill, thanks for having me. And I know this is an exciting time of the year up in Canada because Grey Cup is right around the corner. And I had a chance to play in a few of those, so I know how exciting this time of year is up there.
More than a few. We were just talking before we started the program here. The last time you and I talked was when you got inducted into the CFL Hall of Fame. The ceremony was in Hamilton, and I emceed a number of the events. And it was a fabulous week. And, of course, I know you always say, induction into the Hall of Fame, but you talk to the people that go in there, it's a big deal. I mean, to be honored and to have your accomplishments recognized like that and to have it done in both Halls of Fame is something that I guess most people can't even understand the magnitude of it.
Yeah, it really is. And you don't really understand the magnitude until you get there and you see the other guys who were there before you and some of those guys that happened to be there, or guys that I knew of, like Jackie Parker, who was a great Edmonton Eskimo quarterback, but he also coached me my last year up there. Guys like that, you're going to be in that type of company. So it's an extreme honor to say that you're at the top of the game that you played and you're considered one of the best to ever play that game. Yeah, there's no question that it's one of the biggest honors of your life as a football player.
I got to ask you, I don't want to go too deep into the history because I think most of it's known to our fans. The first time I saw you play was the Rose Bowl. When you guys upset Michigan and you were the Rose Bowl champions, you were the MVP of that game. And boy, I always used to watch those games when I was growing up in Potch. I wonder if any of those guys are ever going to make it to the CFL. I'd love to see a few of them up here, the big stars. And it happened with Joe Theismann, of course. Joe was at Notre Dame. They told him he was too small to play quarterback in the NFL, so he came up to Canada. Others have done that as well. You made the shot from, a kid from L.A. up to Washington to Rose Bowl to Edmonton, Alberta. What was that decision like? I mean, at those days, and I think we have to talk about, there were politics and societal concerns about people of color playing quarterback even. I mean, sadly that was the way things were in those days. But to go from there to Edmonton, Alberta, how did that process happen? I mean, to make the decision to say, this is what's going to be best for my career.
Yeah, it was one of the toughest decisions I had to make in my life at that particular time in my life. As a 20-year-old, I didn't have a ton of big decisions that I had to make before that. It was, where I was going to go to college or stuff like that. But this was a huge decision for me because as a kid growing up, I had a dream of playing in the NFL one day. And that dream started to become more of a goal as I got older and went through the different stages of playing football. And then I thought I'd at least put myself in a position to get a chance to have an opportunity at that dream. But it wasn't going to happen because nobody wanted me to play quarterback. They all wanted to change my position. That was unfortunate, and I knew that it was going to be very difficult for me to play that position when I first started playing it because I knew the history of the position. There just wasn't a lot of African-American quarterbacks. They weren't thought of very highly, and I still went after it anyway because I thought I was good enough, and I thought it was the best position that I could play. So I had to make that decision, and Edmonton and the Canadian Football League was giving me a chance to play quarterback. And they thought I could be a very good quarterback, and they thought I could be a very good quarterback in the NFL. They were baffled by why I wasn't going to get a chance to play down there. So I chose to come to Canada because I wanted to play the position that I was born to play and the position that I knew I could be successful at a high level. So that's when I decided to come to Edmonton. I took a trip there prior to and when they were building the Commonwealth Stadium at the time because the were coming up that year. So it wasn't completely finished, but it was well into construction, and there was about 3 feet of snow on the field at the time when they showed me Clark Stadium where we were going to play our first probably 6 or 7 games of the season. I said if that was the place I was going to play my whole career, I probably wouldn't have come up to Canada. But because of Commonwealth Stadium and the organization was a first-class organization, we had a really good football team that was coming off of a Grey Cup loss. I knew I could come up there and not have to be the guy to carry the football team, that I could learn. I had somebody to learn from in Tom Wilkinson, who had an amazing year my first year up there. So it was just a better overall situation for me to go up to Canada and play, and I'm so thankful to the Canadian Football League for giving me that opportunity.
That was like stepping into an all-star team yourself, though. I mean, as you say, Edmonton, the Eskimos have traditionally been one of the great franchises from a managerial standpoint and on the field. And you walked into that, and you fit right in with some of the other greats that were playing for the Eskimos in those days.
Yeah, we had a lot of great players. I mean, I would probably be leaving somebody out if I just named a couple of them. But, we had Dave Fennell, who was the defensive player of the year. I mean, Tom Kepley, our middle linebacker. Just so many great players on our football team. Jim Germany, our fullback, was one of the best running backs in the league at that time. Brian Kelly and Tommy Scott. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but just a really talented football team, a very experienced football team. And Hugh Campbell was the guy leading all of that. He pushed all the right buttons, knew exactly what guys to play, what personalities he had to deal with, all those different things. And he really kept our core group together for a long time, making some changes from, in different spots. But our core group stayed together for the whole time I was up there. I think that's one of the reasons we had so much success. We were so used to playing with one another, and we just knew when we had to change that gear and take it up another level in games against teams that probably weren't better than us. We had a great feel for what it took to win football games.
I've talked to some of your former teammates. You mentioned Tommy Scott and Brian Kelly and a bunch of those guys. And other guys that played in Edmonton. Neil Lumsden, of course, still a friend of mine. And other guys, Angelo Santucci was on some of those teams, a good Hamilton guy. They all talk about Hugh Campbell and the influence that he had on that team. And clearly he was, I think, one of the best coaches in the history of the Canadian Football League. But to play for a guy like that just, as you say, seems to get it. He just seems to know what to say and what to do at the exact proper time. And obviously you guys have to do the execution of all that sort of stuff too.
Right.
But you got confidence in the coaching staff. That's a big part of the battle, isn't it?
It really is, and we had a lot of emotional players on our team, like Dan Kepley, those guys that want to just tear your head off. But when you go to your head coach and he's just this cool, calm, even-keeled, mild-mannered guy, whenever things got just a little bit crazy out there, you always knew you could turn to you and everything's going to be okay. He's going to handle it the right way. He's not going to be too emotional. He's not going to be too erratic with his decision-making. And he had a great feel for the players that way, too. He knew every guy's personality and who he needed to handle a certain way and who he didn't have to do very much with. He understood all of that, and I think that was one of the reasons why we were so successful, because of the way he handled all the personalities on our football team, which I said earlier was a very talented team. So you're dealing with a lot of egos, a lot of guys who are very successful. Mm-hmm. How do you keep those guys all playing together and focused towards the same goal every year and not wanting to think about their own individual stats?
You mentioned the year before you joined, they made it to the Grey Cup, did not win the Grey Cup. You guys fixed that. That's an understatement. 5 in a row. Warren, that doesn't happen in professional sports anywhere. The Bills got to the Super Bowl 4 years. They didn't win any of them. But, to get to the top of the mountain 5 years in a row and then to win it is an incredible feat.
It really is. And you don't even think about that when you're in it. But once your career is over, you have a chance to look back. And then you see who actually has done that since. It's been, maybe almost 40 years since we won our last cup, and nobody's done anything close to that as far as winning 5 championships in a row in professional sports. I think there's been a three-peat by the Bulls. I think there's been a three-peat by the Patriots and a couple of other in hockey maybe, but nothing with 5. So because of that, you played in a very special era, a very special time, and that's something you could always be proud of and hang your hat on, that you did something that probably nobody else has done since that time.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are running out of fingers when it comes to getting the rings. It's
I was
just an incredible thing.
With the pinky, I guess. With the other
Well,
pinky.
but how do you maintain that level of excellence, though? I mean, you win, 78, 79, 80, 81, and 82, 5 years in a row you win that. But, you win 78, you go back to camp in 79 to start the season again. It's a clean slate. I mean, you're the champions, which is good and bad. I mean, congratulations, you're the champions. Now everybody's gunning for you. And you had to go through that whole thing 5 times in a row, and you overcame it.
And that was the key. And I think, again, Coach Campbell brought in enough new guys each year that they were hungry enough to keep us hungry because they had never experienced having a cup. So they wanted one too. So they pushed us a little bit. I think the fact that we knew every stadium that we went into or whoever came to our place, we were going to get their best effort. So our game had to be at the top of our game every week. That didn't always happen, but it happened most of the time. And that was a tribute to our football team that we could get up knowing that every team was going to be trying to knock us off because they could say their season was made just by beating us. And we felt that. So there were games where we got off to slow starts. Teams came out of the locker room and really jumped on us, but somehow we got things turned around, whether it was at halftime or with adjustments. And then we had that sense as a team that, okay, it's time to take our game up to another level. It's time to go win the football game. And there was a feeling on our team and in our locker room that we could do that when we needed to.
5 in a row, it's probably just a flood of memories coming back from all of those games. I mean, you're in the championship game. As you say, there's veterans like yourself and Fennell and Kepley and a bunch of guys like that. But you got the young kids, too. How do you, because as I say, the other guys want to knock you off, let's face it. I mean, one of those Grey Cup victories was against the Tiger Cats, and my good friend Dave Marler was their quarterback that year. And it was close for about the first 5 minutes. But then and that's no disrespect to the Tiger Cats. I mean, they won the East, they got to the Grey Cup, they had a pretty decent season. But you guys, when you put the pedal to the metal, I mean, special teams, offense, defense, you're just clicking at every facet of the game.
Yeah, we were a very solid football team and well coached. Don Matthews became a head coach from our squad. Our offensive line coach, Coach Murphy, he became a head coach in Winnipeg. So we had some really talented coaches on our staff, and that was one of the reasons why we were successful too. A very cohesive staff that had a lot of experience, and we were just very well coached. Coach Campbell was really big on special teams. He wanted our special teams to always be top-notch because he knew that was a big part of the game in Canada. So that was something we tried to excel at all the time as well.
Let me swing back for just a second. You mentioned the other quarterback on that team. He was there when you got there, of course, Tom Wilkinson. There's a guy, I mean, quite a career, quite a character, too. And I'm sure you found that out pretty quickly when you got into the locker room.
Yeah.
He used to always complain about the fact that when somebody came in there, they thought, are you the equipment manager? He said, no, I'm the quarterback. He didn't look like a quarterback. He didn't look like a super athlete, but boy, he could perform on the field, couldn't he?
He really could, and he knew exactly what his strengths were and his weaknesses, and that's what he utilized when he played. He was more of a pocket guy. He liked the quick throws. He wasn't a guy that was going to sit back in the pocket and fire the ball deep down the field. He knew exactly where everybody was on the field at all times. And then I think that's why we worked so well together. I was more of a deep ball thrower down the field. I was more of a guy that was going to get outside of the edge with my legs and make things happen. So when teams had to play against us, they had to prepare for two completely different styles. My style compared to Tom's style. You just didn't have enough time during the week to prepare for both guys' strengths.
Well, and the other thing, too, is on the odd occasion where you guys didn't go all the way down the field, you had probably one of the most reliable kickers in the game. And Cutler was money in the bank, wasn't he?
He was. He was a standard kicker,
Yeah.
Wasn't no sidewinder like all the guys you see today. And he took his job very seriously. And he was one of the probably most competitive guys on our team. And when we got down, he was one of the guys who would get on guys' butts, and you just wouldn't think a kicker would do that. But Dave would get right up in your face, and he would challenge guys if we weren't playing up to the level that we were supposed to play. So he was a big part of our team as well.
I want to talk a little bit about the NFL career because it was brilliant too, and we watched from afar. You went down to Houston. You followed Hugh Campbell down there. Your coach in Edmonton for a little while.
Yeah.
What was the reception like, Warren, when you went to the NFL? I mean, yes, you'd had great success in the CFL. Obviously Hugh Campbell knew all about that. He was your coach. But what was the reaction from the teammates, etc.? Was there an acknowledgement that, hey, you really kicked ass up in Canada. I hope you can do the same thing here. And by the way, you did.
Well, when you go to a new organization and a new league, and I don't know how many guys that had that experience, but I became the highest paid player in the league down there when I came in. So I think a lot of eyeballs on me, a lot of expectations, a lot of people wondering, what is this guy going to do? How good is he really? Can he play at this level? Can he play this style of football compared to the style that he's coming from? So I had all those question marks. And then I'm coming to an organization that was like 2-14 the year before I got there. So not a very good football team, not a very talented team. And I knew we were going to have to build through the draft and free agency and that in order to get up to speed to be a competitive team. And it took us a couple of years, and there was some frustration those first couple of years because I wasn't used to losing. I wasn't used to not being successful. But we got things turned around, and once we did, we took off and became a perennial playoff team. So I knew it was going to be tough in those early days because that's what I signed up for. But being with Coach Campbell again was something that really intrigued me to go there. And then they offered me a financial package that was very, very good for the time I was in my career. I was 26, 27 years old at that time, so I didn't know how much more time I was going to have to play. Yeah. It ended up being a lot longer than I thought, but I wanted to get the most money I possibly could if I was going to leave and make that effort down to the United States and leave what I was leaving at Edmonton.
But Coach Campbell did the same thing there that he did in Edmonton. I remember talking to the late Ron Lancaster when he was coaching here in Hamilton. I know you know Ronnie well from your days up here. Yeah. And he always told me, and of course he's a former quarterback when he played for Saskatchewan, but it was protect your quarterback. In other words, priority. We got to get an offensive line. I think the phrase Ron used was, if my quarterback's on, there's duff in the backfield. We're not winning. And he made sure of that. And Hugh Campbell had the same philosophy, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Our offensive lines were very good in Edmonton, and we prided ourselves, especially after my first maybe 3 years, we could go with an all-Canadian line. We didn't have to use the Americans all the line. We had some really good Canadian players, and I think that was what made our team so good as well. We had really good Canadian players on our team. We didn't have to rely so much on the American players as other teams did, especially at certain positions. But in the NFL, it was the same way. We had a very young offensive line when I came to Houston. We had Bruce Matthews, who became a Pro Football Hall of Famer, Mike Munchak, who became a Pro Football Hall of Famer, Dean Steinkuhler, who was the first overall pick in the draft. So we had a really good young nucleus of guys. They just weren't there yet, but eventually they became a very good offensive line after a couple of years.
Well, and you don't win without that sort of thing. 5 in a row is an indication, I guess, of how management is committed to this, too, to bring in the proper talent and the chemistry that goes on with that. We could talk all afternoon about some of the memories that you've created that I hold dear in watching you. You're one of those guys that you just want to just say, shake hands and just say thank you for everything you've done. I mean, I watched from afar with awe, as many Canadian football fans did, about some of your accomplishments and the way that this team was as successful as it was. I don't want to. You've been around sports way too long, Warren, for me to say something like this is a record that's never going to be broken. You never know. But boy, that's a pretty tall mountain to climb to do 5 in a row. And as you say, nobody in the CFL has done it. They've come close, I guess, a couple of times, but they're not 3, not 4, not 5. It's something that I think you can really be proud of, and it's so great to be able to talk and reminisce a little bit about this during Grey Cup week, because it's, as you know, kind of a special week for the whole country. It's a kind of the national party, as you know, from your time here in this league, and we're looking forward to it at Tim Horton Field in Hamilton. And I just want to thank you again for taking some time for us and do some reminiscing about Grey Cup fever as we come in. Thanks again for this. Hope you're doing well. And I'd love to talk to you soon about some of these other memories. I got a few other questions for you, too.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you. Again, that was a very special time in my life. I was 21 years old when I came up there, coming to a new country, a new culture, a new league, new rules, all these different things that were new in my life at that time. And then I was starting a family soon after that, and our first son was born in Canada. So many great memories about being up there. And I look forward to it every time I get a chance to come back up there and see the guys and reminisce about some of the old days that we had up there. And like I said, you don't think about what you did and what you accomplished until you look back at it years later. And I still look back at those days and think what a special time in my life that was, those 5 or 6 years that I lived up in Canada.
Well, the number on your jersey was number 1. I think that's very apt, considering what you've done for football on both sides of the border. Warren Moon, thank you so much for this. We'll talk again.
All right, Bill. Thank you. Have a great day now.
You betcha. Warren Moon. And that's it for this edition of Countdown to the Grey Cup. Now, for all the latest info, by the way, about the 2023 Grey Cup Festival, go to greycupfestival.ca and watch for the next edition of Countdown to the Grey Cup. I'm Bill Kelly. We'll see you next time on the Ticat Audio Network.